Just to give you guys a brief bit of my background, I graduated from Radford University graduated with a degree in history. Radford's in Virginia, so for those that don't know. Also, I'm pursuing my master's, my MBA at the University of Maryland. I'm doing my program online as well. So just to give you guys a little bit of just about me. That being said, we're going to jump right into the tour. So, all right. So we have the original Memphis Museum. It's a civil rights museum. It was founded in 1991. Just giving you a bit of facts about the museum before we dive too deep into it. It's also located on 450 in Mulberry Street, Memphis, Tennessee. And the tickets range from about $13 to $16, so it's not too expensive, but definitely worth the buy. So let's get into it. All right. So when you step into the museum, the tour begins in 1619. This is during the time of the slave trade. With that being said, they talk in very great detail about that, and then they go into the Civil War. However, primarily most of their exhibits are around the civil rights movement. So that's what we're going to emphasize on a lot today. But I just wanted to show you guys where they started. And has anybody ever been to the Civil Rights National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis? So, all right. So right here we have two images. These images are exhibits that are at the museum. So right here, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of what these two images represent, but they represent the Freedom Riders. So this right here is the bus that was bombed when the Freedom Riders got to the South. The whole point of what the Freedom Riders did is the Freedom Riders went to the South in order to challenge the society of the Southerners. A lot of Southerners wanted segregation, even though segregation was considered unconstitutional at the time. And the Freedom Riders decided to get on a bus and drive through the South and challenge the Constitution. And they sat in every waiting room that they could sit in. They used every bathroom. They went to every restaurant, and they really wanted to emphasize on the importance of desegregation. And so that was a real big thing about the Freedom Riders. Very impactful to the civil rights movement. So with that being said, these images are very important. Like I said, we have a sit-in right here. We see them at the restaurant. Also, like I said, this is an image of the bus after it was bombed. So yes, give you guys a little bit of time to look at those images. All right, so this image right here is an image from Bloody Sunday. This image is an image that they also have at the museum along with the entire exhibit. They didn't have too many pictures on the exhibit, so unfortunately I wasn't able to show you guys the entire exhibit. However, this is an image from some of the images that they do use. As we can see right here, this man right here, this is Congressman John Lewis, in his earlier days, of course. And very one of my favorite people. But anyways, Bloody Sunday was on March 7th, 1965. This is when many peaceful demonstrators, protesters marched through. They marched across, I believe it is Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. I'm sorry. And with that being said, as they were peacefully marching, they were met with resistance. This resistance was the police force. They were extremely violent, as we can see, by the numerous police officers here engaging in violent activity. With that being said, One of the most notable things that did happen during this Bloody Sunday is, in fact, happened to Congressman John Lewis. Congressman John Lewis did a speech a little bit after his, let me say a little bit after, but many years after, he did a speech to just speak about the situation that happened. And he speaks about how when he seen the resistance that they were met with, he couldn't think of anything else to do but get on his knees and pray. When he began to get on his knees and pray, he was beaten with the billy club to the point where his skull was cracked open, which is, you know, a very unfortunate and crazy situation. So definitely wanted to highlight that. Definitely, I agree, T. Barber. It definitely is a challenge, similar to Black Lives Matter, yes. Yes, it is the Mississippi Police Force. They were notorious for being extremely violent and aggressive. So this behavior was not anything different than what they usually do. So we're gonna continue on to the next slide. So right here is the iconic picture of Rosa Parks sitting in the front of the bus. What I love about this museum the most is the feeling that you have when you can be a part of history. And with that being said, you can sit on the bus and you can walk these same steps as these activists and civil rights leaders and things of that nature. So it's a very impactful, not just mentally, but spiritually and emotionally. With that being said, this is an image from the Montgomery bus boycotts. The bus boycotts transpired between 1955 to 1956. And while you are sitting on the bus, there's a speech playing. The speech is from Martin Luther King. And the speech is the exact speech that he did on the first night of the boycotts. So I thought that was a real good tidbit, give you guys a bit of a feel what it feels like to be on the bus with them as well. And like I said, the speech is a very empowering speech. So the entire time you're at this museum, you feel as though you are a part of history. So give you guys a little bit of time to look at that image a bit more. All right. So here we have the notorious I Am a Man strike. So the I Am a Man strike was a strike of sanitation workers that decided to take a strike for injustice, poor work conditions, prejudice, a numerous amount of reasons why they felt as though they needed to strike. Martin Luther King was very overwhelmed by seeing the outspoken voice of his people. So he decided to come. To Memphis. Little did he know that it'd be some of his last days, unfortunately. And when he came to Memphis, like I said, some of these things were occurring. And this right side right here is a picture from the exhibit that they have there. And we see some young black brothers here dressed with some t-shirts that say I am a man. And I just felt as though that was something pretty good for us to see, just showing how this is history and we come here to pay homage in the present. So I thought that was a pretty impactful image as well. So that's why I put it here, to give you guys a little bit of time to look at that. We're gonna go to the next slide. And for those joining us, this is the National Civil Rights Museum, once again, that we're taking a virtual tour of today. Does anybody know what this is right here? What these images possibly display or what they coincide with? You guys know that. Give a little bit of time to see if we get some answers. Correct, Marcus. It is Marcus on Facebook. He says that it's in Memphis. Correct. It is in Memphis. Yes, it is. Anybody know what important civil rights activist slept here? This was his hotel room. Yes, it is MLK's room. Was that PB Bryant? Yes. Where MLK was assassinated. Correct. It is. So this is the Lorraine Motel. This is the outside of the motel right here. This is Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King's room right here. And this is a plaque created after his passing. I'm going to tell you guys what the plaque says. Thought it was pretty inspirational, as well as who was the person that wrote the message on the plaque, or well, who put the quote on the plaque. So the message was Ralph David Abernathy, and it was dedicated from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which Ralph Abernathy, I apologize, was he was the president of the time when they put out the message. So it says right there on the plaque, I'm sorry, I gotta read it. They said to one another, behold, here cometh the dreamer. Let us slay him, and we shall see what we will become of his dreams. I'll repeat that. They said one to another, behold, here cometh the dreamer. Let us slay him, and we shall see what we will become of his dreams. Genesis 37, 19-20. I believe Ralph Abernathy was a good friend of Martin Luther King Jr. And feel as though when he put those words there, it was to resonate the life of Martin Luther King and how he was a dreamer, and how he put actions behind those dreams in order to be the change and see the change. So I thought those were some pretty impactful words. Thought it was pretty inspirational and motivational that they put this here for the forever to be. So I thought that was pretty cool. And yes, Sandra on Facebook, yes, this is the Lorraine Motel. You are correct. Yes. So give you guys a little bit more time to take a look at that. That said, this is Martin Luther King's hotel room. The Civil Rights Museum has preserved all of these artifacts and kept them in pristine condition. When you go to the museum, you can look in through the window and get a bit of a feel of what it looks like, but you can't go inside, of course. But with that being said, we're gonna go to the next slide. All right, so here we have the iconic picture of Martin Luther King with these three amazing African American men. I'm going to just point out who these individuals are. So right here we have Ralph Abernathy. Ralph Abernathy, remember, he's the person that wrote the message. So that's just a visual representation of him, so you guys can kind of have a better idea what he looks like. Once again, this is Ralph Abernathy. After that, we have Reverend Jesse Jackson, of course, very iconic figure. And on this far left, next to Dr. Martin Luther King, we have Hakeem Williams. So just to show you guys who those people are, another view of the motel, where we can see that this is, in fact, the building that they were in front of. And I thought that was pretty, and this is a very impactful, iconic image. So just wanted to give you guys a bit of a gist of who those people are. So let's move on to the next slide right here. Give you guys a little bit more time just to digest that picture. All right. So this sculpture right here is extremely important. It's the first thing you see when you walk into the museum, along with it was the first piece of art put into that museum. This sculpture was created by Michael Pawlowski. It is a two-piece, 13 by 26 foot, 7,000 pound bronze sculpture. So we're gonna give you guys another look at that, and we're gonna look at it in a bit deeper so we can see some details into the sculpture. So we see a deeper look into the sculpture right here. This sculpture was called Movement to Overcome. So very, very inspirational piece of artwork. I'm going to give you guys an even deeper look so we can see the details a bit more. So as we can see right here, the sculpture is supposed to display a very steep wall, and many individuals trying to climb this wall. However, every individual is holding on to each other in order to pull themselves up the wall. I believe that this is an amazing representation of how we all do need to come together, even in times of what we're going through now in today's society, and pull together to everyone can climb this wall, in a sense. So I believe that was the ideology behind the sculpture. A great artist, once again, Michael Pawlowski, that sculpted this, and I feel like he did a phenomenal job. So I'll give you guys a little bit more time just to look deeper into those details. Once again, you can see the human bodies right here. They're all touching each other in some form or fashion in order to give support for the next person to be pulled up. So teamwork makes the dream work, right? That's what they say. So we're gonna go into a little honorable mention. I just wanted to show you guys. Thought it was just a cool artifact to have that they somehow, got their hands on. Thought it was pretty cool. All right, this right here is an authentic KKK robe. I don't know, most people know this, I definitely didn't, but the KKK was actually formed in Pulaski, Tennessee in 1866. So Tennessee is known for, not the best environment to be a people of color. So with that being said, for them to have this in the National Civil Rights Museum, it speaks volume, if you ask me, and it definitely does say a lot. At the height of the KKK movement, there was over 5 million members. So this is a very old and well-preserved artifact right here. So as we're coming to the conclusion of our virtual tour, I just wanted to give you guys a couple reasons of why I think someone should visit. The tickets are affordable, of course. They have free parking, so who doesn't love free parking? Also, they have a large amount of Black archives and exhibits. It's the National Civil Rights Museum. So with that being said, I feel like it's very good to dive deeper into history and understand everything that happens and why it happens. So this museum is a great place to go. And also the last thing I would like to say is just the walk through history that you have within this museum. Many great people have been to this museum. There's a lot of amazing exhibits at this museum about amazing people. And you being able to sit on a bus behind Rosa Parks, or you being able to hear Martin Luther King's speech the night before the bus boycott, it gives you a different type of feel and a different type of vibe for the museum. And I just think that in itself is an amazing selling point and just a reason for somebody to want to go. So with that being said, once again, this is the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. But once again, my name is Devon Atkins. I'm the office administrator and receptionist here at the Black Archives. Thank you everybody for tuning in on Facebook and Instagram. I appreciate you guys, and make sure on July 15th we do have a program, or more than just a hashtag. So please join that. The Zoom registration link is in the bio, so you can click that, get registered, get informed. Thank you all for your time. I hope everybody has a blessed day. Take care, stay safe, and take care.
You saved it.